Over 80% of young adults today will need surgery to extract their wisdom teeth before they cause permanent damage. When 4 out of 5 members of your species share the exact same structural problem, you stop blaming individual genetics and start looking at the blueprint. Our jaws are essentially collapsing, and science knows exactly what triggered it. For decades, oral surgeons and medical textbooks have repeated a standard narrative. They tell us that wisdom teeth, our third molars, are simply evolutionary leftovers. The story goes that our ancient ancestors needed massive jaws and extra teeth to chew raw meat and tough vegetation. Then, as our brains grew larger, our skulls rerouted their structural real estate, forcing our jaws to shrink while leaving the extra teeth behind. It sounds clean. It sounds logical. But according to modern anthropology and evolutionary biology, it is almost entirely wrong. To understand why, you have to look at what being a human used to mean for your mouth. If you examine the fossil record, looking at hundreds of hunter-gatherer skulls from 20,000 years ago, or even 10,000 years ago, you encounter a baffling dental anomaly, or rather, an anomaly to us. Their teeth are pristine. They are perfectly straight. There are no signs of crowding, no overlapping incisors, and practically zero impacted wisdom teeth. These prehistoric humans didn't have access to orthodontists. They didn't wear braces. They didn't use palate expanders. And they never had their third molars cut out of their gums in a high-stress medical procedure. Yet, their third molars emerged from the bone smoothly, aligned perfectly with the rest of their bite, and functioned as intended until the day they died. If our jaws shrank simply because our brains grew larger, then ancient Homo sapiens, who had the exact same brain volume we do today, should have suffered from the same crowded mouths. But they didn't. The architectural collapse of the human face didn't happen millions of years ago when we evolved larger brains. It happened in a geological blink of an eye, starting roughly 10,000 years ago and accelerating violently over the last 2 centuries. The research suggests that the crisis of the modern wisdom tooth is not a genetic failure. It is an epigenetic mismatch. There is a fundamental difference between what your DNA codes for and how your body actually grows. Your genes do not contain a rigid blueprint that dictates the exact millimeter length of your jawbone. Instead, your DNA contains a set of possibilities that respond directly to the environment. And for your jaw, the most critical environmental input is mechanical stress. Think of bone not as a static, concrete pillar, but as a dynamic, living tissue that builds itself in response to force. This is known in medicine as Wolff's Law. When a bone is subjected to heavy loads, it remodels itself to become thicker and stronger. During childhood and adolescence, when the human skull is still highly malleable, the jaw requires a massive amount of mechanical resistance to reach its full developmental potential. For 99% of human history, children spent hours every single day chewing incredibly tough foods. Raw roots, fibrous tubers, wild game, and dense nuts. This constant, vigorous chewing exerted immense pressure on the mandible and the maxilla. The muscles of mastication, the masseters and temporalis, pulled relentlessly against the bone. In response to this daily structural workout, the childhood jaw did something extraordinary. It grew wider, it extended forward, and it created a spacious, broad arch. When the time came for the wisdom teeth to erupt between the ages of 17 and 25, the runway was completely clear. There was plenty of room at the back of the mouth because the bone had physically expanded to accommodate them. But then, we changed the environment. The shift began with the agricultural revolution, when we traded a diet of wild, fibrous foods for soft, domesticated grains like wheat and rice. But the true architectural catastrophe for the human face arrived with industrial food processing in the 19th and 20th centuries. Suddenly, human children stopped chewing. Consider the modern childhood diet. It is an environment completely devoid of mechanical resistance. We feed infants pulverized purees from plastic pouches. We give toddlers soft white bread, ultra-processed chicken nuggets, yogurt, and pasteurized cheeses. Everything we consume is pre-cut, pre-cooked, and engineered to melt in the mouth with minimal effort. The massive structural workout that designed the human face for millions of years was completely wiped out in a matter of generations. Because modern children do not exert force on their facial bones, their jaws never receive the mechanical signals required to trigger full growth. The bone remains underdeveloped. The dental arch stays narrow and short. But here is the catch. While your jawbone is highly sensitive to environmental signals, the size of your teeth is highly conservative. Your DNA still produces teeth calibrated for a large, wide-faced hunter-gatherer. The result is a simple, brutal math problem. You are trying to fit 32 prehistoric teeth into a modern, industrialized jaw built for 28. By the time you reach your late teens, your first and second molars have already claimed all the available real estate. When your wisdom teeth attempt to push through the gums, they run out of runway. They hit a solid wall of bone or the roots of the adjacent teeth. They become trapped, twisting sideways, turning horizontal, and becoming what dentists call impacted. They don't cause pain because they are inherently bad teeth. They cause pain because they are trapped inside a room that was never fully built. This structural underdevelopment goes far deeper than a crowded smile. Anthropologists and respiratory experts are beginning to realize that when the jaw fails to grow forward, it doesn't just crowd the teeth, it crowds the airway. A narrow, recessed jaw pushes the tongue backward toward the throat, constricting the space we use to breathe. This is the hidden origin of the modern epidemic of mouth breathing, chronic snoring, and obstructive sleep apnea. We didn't just inherit crowded teeth, we inherited compromised breathing. We tend to view modern health problems through the lens of genetic bad luck. We buy braces, pay for expensive extractions, and accept our crooked teeth as a natural part of being human. But the data from our own history tells a different story. The wisdom tooth crisis is a living monument to evolutionary mismatch. We are walking around in a physical prototype that never received its final update, trying to survive in an industrialized world with bodies calibrated for the savannah. The jaw standing in your old photos isn't failing because nature made a mistake. It is failing because it is waiting for a stress that never arrives. The human body didn't forget how to build a perfect mouth. We just forgot how to give it the friction that makes it feel alive.